Go, go, Andy. Go, Andy. Go, Andy. Go, Andy. Go, go. Yay!
Everybody, hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for coming back to another video. I appreciate you coming back. I'm just taking the time to watch a video with me. Atlanta is really over. Like the fourth season ended. There's still certain things that I think about when it comes to Atlanta. That was really, really one of my all-time favorite shows. And it is sorely missed. But you gotta move on. But you can still appreciate the things that you saw and the things that Atlanta gave us. And one of the things that Atlanta gave us, and I believe gave us really well, is guest characters. And it had a few very memorable guest characters. And I wanted to take this video to talk about some of those very memorable guest characters. And I tried to narrow it down to 10 for myself. I don't know if that's really possible. And it's not 10 in a particular order, but I tried to narrow it down to give 10 characters that I think were some of the more important, some of the more memorable when it came to Atlanta. And I do have some honorable mentions. And actually, I have my list right here. I wrote it down. I want to start with my first round of honorable mentions. So I put Teddy Perkins and Kirkwood Chocolate in the honorable mentions because I still see them as Donald Glover. And again, I know these were great guest characters, but I still see them as Donald Glover, especially the Teddy Perkins character. I think the Teddy Perkins is one of the best character, um, even in a 30-minute span. It's one of the best character arcs in the series of Atlanta and in TV in general. Just such an interesting arc. Um, Also, there was Liam Neeson, Alexander Skarsgård. There was Mike Vick, Cree Summers, Kevin Samuels, Jai Paul, Soldier Boy, Chet Hanks, and then there was D'Angelo, and there was Justin Bieber. And then I think it's necessary also. This is a secondary honorable mention, so I think it's necessary to give a secondary honorable mention, and that would include Buck, played by Najima Williams, and then Johnny and Lisa, played respectively by Luke Forbes and Jason Jamal Ligon. And I think that jail scene was very indicative of a lot of what happens in Atlanta. The way Buck told his story is the way that a lot of dudes from Atlanta tell their stories, especially stories like that. And then Johnny and Lisa was a typical Atlanta couple. Um, what can you say? They were a typical Atlanta couple. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could see that argument. You might see the argument at the mall. You might see it at the train station. You might see it at the bus station. You might see it at a restaurant. You might see it at, like, who knows where you might see it. But the same conversation that Johnny and Lisa had in the jail, you might see that anywhere. Maybe Piedmont Park. Who knows? Those are my honorable mentions and my secondary honorable mentions. So now I want to start my list. And these are the 10 characters that I think were important, had impact not only on Atlanta, but just on perspective in general. And these are my 10. No particular order. So I want to start off with Lorraine and the homeless man. And so Lorraine was in New Jazz and the homeless man was in the woods. Lorraine was played by Ava Gray and the homeless man was played by Reggie Alvin Green. And I put them on the list because I think that they progressed the character Paperboy forward. They kind of made you see Paperboy in a very different light, and they made him do things a little bit differently. Because Paperboy was a character who we kind of looked at as one way, particularly. He was this tough guy, this street guy, and everything like that. But I think there was deeper sides to him. And I think Lorraine especially brought that out. And another reason is I also believe that with Lorraine and the homeless man, we got more of Brian Tyree Henry and Paperboy versus Paperboy. So I think Brian Tyree Henry was able to pour his more of himself into the character as time progressed. And I think that these two characters helped that progression. Because again, We always saw Paperboy as a tough guy, and some people may look at it as the series progressed, Paperboy was somewhat emasculated. I can see it a little bit. I'm not going to 100% agree with it, but you did see a very much a change in Paperboy. And again, I think that's because Brian Tyree Henry got to put more of himself in Paperboy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. All right. And so then my next character is Clark County, played by RJ Walker. First thing I want to ask is, did Clark County die? Because I want to say I saw this in 9 Yard Nerd. I want to say that's what the channel's called. Sorry, I'll put it somewhere down here, but I want to say I saw it in one of his videos where somebody spotted it. But in one of the episodes, I want to say it was in New Jazz, there was a sticker or something on the table that Paperboy was sitting on that said RP Clark County. But so again, did Clark County die? Like, what happened? The character of Clark County was important because he showed Paperboy what rap could do and what rap could make available to him. So he progressed that part of Paperboy. And he also, without Clark County, I don't think we see the progression that Earn got. Because Earn progressed because with Paperboy realizing what all was available to him and wanting more, Earn had to be pushed. Because Earn was just kind of like, I'm here, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing little things, we're getting by. But Paperboy realized there was more, so Earn had to do more, and he progressed a lot. And then the next character I have is Nadine, played by Gail Bean. And it was hard to choose because I think Candace and Tammy, Candace played by Adrian Ray, and Tammy played by Danielle Detweiler, were two important characters as well. Because there were certain things that they did, especially later for Candace, that was important. But I put Nadine in here because without Nadine and the conversation that her and Darius have, there's not the idea that Atlanta as a whole was a simulation. Without that conversation kind of sparked the idea that everything was basically made up in Atlanta, and that's why things were happening the way they were happening. That's kind of where that came from, at least from what I saw. So I think that's why Nadine is important and she should be on this list, is because she kind of sparked the idea that Atlanta was a simulation. Then the next is Craig Allen, played by Rick Holmes. I just thought this character was a funny character. Just the idea of someone apologizing, someone being so into Black culture. And I think that's also very typical and relevant, especially recently. Something that you see is those kind of apologists and those people who are very deep into it. Just kind of like that Craig Allen playbook that you see a lot of corporate companies, follow, a lot of politicians follow as well. That kind of apologist that I'm so deep into your culture, I have a better understanding of your culture than you do, and I see things in your culture in a way that you will never see them in. That mentality is kind of widespread. But again, that's Craig Allen deserves to be on this list. And then Everett Tillman, I think that's how Everett Tillman, played by Sullivan Jones. And this character is important because he pushed Earn to kind of give us more of himself. Because we knew a lot about Earn throughout the series, but then there was also a lot that we didn't know. And without the therapist, Everett, there's certain things that we would not have known about Earn. We may have never known. And the series would have just ended. And I think that particular scene is one of the reasons why Donald may win another Emmy Award, is because of that scene that he had with Everett, where Everett pushed him to kind of expose what happened to him, some of the stuff that happened to his family, and the RA issue, and why Earn was the way he was throughout the entire series. His lack of trust, the way he treated a lot of people. I think the way that he treated Van stems a lot from that. So then we have Aunt Jeannie. And I think this opens up more of the family relationship, Ern's family relationship, kind of the relationship between the aunts and the uncles, more so the aunts, uncles, and Aunt Jeannie, and a lot of stuff that she did, why Ern's mom may have been the way that she is throughout the series, especially in that particular episode. And again, I also think that everybody has somebody in their family that is like Aunt Jeannie. And it's not always an aunt, sometimes it's a cousin, sometimes it's an uncle, but everybody has that. And I'm sorry, I also want to go back. This was played by Nicole Brianna White, is her name. So Aunt Jeannie was played by Nicole Brianna White. And the moment where she was crying on the phone was amazing. Like, I was like, she deserved, before I was like, she is a shoe in for at least a guest star nomination. She should get one for that performance right there. That was a great performance. When she said, "Y'all hate me because I'm light skinned," it just chef's kiss on that performance. I would say that I know it was no particular order, but I would say this is the top four as far as guest characters. All right. So I think you have to start with Tracy, Tracy, and then Bibby. So I have these two kind of a little neck and neck, sort of, but Tracy and Bibby because I think everybody in Atlanta knows a Tracy or they know a Bibby, and the Bibby that they know isn't always a barber. The Bibby that they know probably does a whole lot of other stuff, but these are very like these are rudimentary Atlanta characters. They're caricatures of people who actually live in Atlanta. Tracy, especially, Tracy is that guy who's always looking to do something. Like he might be on your couch for a day, or he might be on your couch for a year. It kind of depends. And this, what's interesting is, I don't think even through all their actions, neither Tracy nor Bibby were bad guys. They were just guys trying to survive. And in Atlanta, a lot of people you have to do everything you can to survive. Survival is oftentimes based on your hustle. I don't. A lot of people don't subscribe to that narrative, but it's true though. You have to survival can be based on your hustle, and Tracy hustled, Bibby especially hustled. Bibby hustled. Bibby was the barber, your phone connection, your construction connection, your passing out flyers connection. Bibby was your connection to a lot of stuff, and that's actually true with a lot of barbers, but just a lot of people in general. Then next, I would have to say is Alligator Man, and I think this character was important just because of Cat Williams' portrayal. Um, and wait, let me go back. Let me say, Tracy was played by Chris Davis, and Bibby was played by Robert S. Powell. And so then with Alligator Man and Cat Williams' portrayal, just an elite performance. Like everything about him was like he was like that old guy in the Atlanta neighborhood. Everybody knows him. He's cool sometimes, he's crazy other times. He says he's not crazy, but then he acts crazy. You go in his house and you never know what you're gonna find. You could find you could find a golden gun. You could find a bazooka. You could find an alligator. You might find a tiger or a monkey. He's that guy that lives in the neighborhood, and it's not always in the hood. He might live in a nice part of the neighborhood. He might live in a middle class neighborhood. You never know where this guy lives, but he's that guy that lives in the neighborhood, and you really never know where you're gonna get from. And so the last person on my list would be DeMarcus. And I've already made a video where I talked about his speech and why I think it's one of the most important speeches in TV and a very important speech in Black culture. But I think DeMarcus was kind of like that. DeMarcus was that summation of what Atlanta may have been trying to tell us. And this isn't just a message for Black culture, but it's a message for culture in Atlanta in general, because a lot of Atlanta culture is being sold back to us. And again, I've talked about this in other videos. Progress and growth isn't always a bad thing, but it becomes a bad thing when we are not a part of it, especially for something that we've built up, something that we understand, something that we know. So, and then also when people are taking our image and they're selling it back to us very differently. So that's why I think that again, those four, so Bibby, Tracy, Alligator Man, and DeMarcus, even though this was in no particular order, I would say those four rank above everybody else. And there's probably some people that I may have missed on this list. Some people think should be on this list, like Antoine, or I think Harrison Phillips. Is that what his name was? Some people might think he should be on the list. Some people might think what is dang, I can't remember his name, but the one guy who was driving Al crazy. Then we had the Pee Wee kid. He was a part of not Pee Wee, Bankroll. Uh, his name was Bankroll something because he used to be with Bankroll Fresh, and then I can't think of his name right now. But that was another one. Um, yeah, there were. You could say the lady in the Homeliest Horse, the white lady, just a lot of guest characters. And some people might say, hey, you should have put Teddy Perkins and Kurtwood Chocolate on your list. I just didn't again because I look at them as Donald Glover. But yeah, that's my list. of what I think are the 10 most important guest characters in Atlanta. You guys might have a different list. I would love to hear what your list is. Um, but yeah, that's mine. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys continue to watch. I appreciate you watching this video, and peace out.